Hey guys, so today we're going to jump into the August 2025 edition of the top 10 characters in Dragon Ball Legends. It is possible we do another one this month. We'll see what happens during this Lineage of Evil campaign is what it seems like we're about to get here. As usual, all characters considered at 14 stars, best teams, best equips, everything maxed out in their best possible situations and scenarios. Every ranking on this list is based on the current meta, so if a character is ranked at 5, they might not necessarily be ranked above all the characters 6 through 10 in the next list. It's just going to completely depend on what the meta is at the time where I make the list. And then lastly, these rankings are based on standard PvP. I'm not considering Proud PvP for the purposes of this list. And of course, my personal experience is what I'm taking into consideration when making the list for all these characters. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into number 10 and we will move on through the list. Okay, so for number 10, what I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm going to be putting a few characters here. Now, at the end of this section, I'm going to say who I personally would have at the number 10 slot, but I think these characters are all kind of in the discussion here for being at number 10. And typically what I've done in these videos, the past few times at least, is I've said there usually end up being a few characters you can kind of swap into this 10 slot. Usually what happens is 10, 9, 8, kind of end up being like almost an interchangeable slot for like a grouping of like 6 or 7 characters. You can kind of interchangeably move around in those positions. So I don't really think these lower parts of the list are going to be super set in stone, but I do think there are a few characters here, at least for me, that stand out that I could see being slotted in here at number 10. So we have Ultra Cell, we have Ultra Hit, we have Tien and Chaozu, and we have Full Power Frieza, the yellow Zenkai Full Power Frieza. I guess we'll just go in order from bottom to top. Full Power Frieza is pretty good. I think the biggest issue for him is actually the same issue that we're going to be seeing for another character on the list later. He doesn't really have easy access to Cover Null, but he does do a lot of damage. He's relatively bulky. He's got decent disrupt. He's supporting. He's got Endurance Null that's just up all the time. So I think he is actually a pretty effective character right now, especially paired up with Full Power Frieza, the Ultra one. I could see this guy getting better if they decide to actually like reintegrate the color purple into the game, because there really isn't like really great purple characters in the game, and that's kind of a good way to segue into Tien here. Tien, a good addition to the Saiyan Saga team. I think he is a very good third character for that build. There really are two different builds you can go for Saiyan Saga. There's the one with Tien and Chaozu next to the two Part 2 anniversary characters, and then there's just the version with the blue Saiyan Saga Goku. I think Tien's value has fallen a little bit. I don't even know if I want to call it fallen a little bit. I just think like matchup wise, you don't really run into that Saiyan Saga version of the team as often anymore. The main reason why I think Tien's value has fallen a little bit is because Tien I kind of value a little bit more than the blue Saiyan Saga Goku initially in Part 2, because Tien has better value versus the Solar Flare in particular from Kaioken Goku. And I think you just don't see as many Kaioken Gokus as you did during Part 2. He's still pretty common, but you don't see him as often. And then I just think the blue Goku right now is probably poised a little bit better than this Tien and Chaozu. But Tien and Chaozu being like one of the only few competent purples that exist, one of the maybe the only one that exists right now, is going to give him a little bit of extra value, I think, than some of the other candidates that I could have put on here in the number 10 slot. Ultra Hit, still a very good character, still does a lot of damage. Defensively, he can still do decently, although I think definitely with the release of the Part 3 characters, he's definitely taking a bit more damage than I'd like, especially from Frieza. The time skip also is still pretty strong. The only problem with time skip, of course, now is when you're facing a team with Namek Goku, which is almost every single match. The time skip is going to have inherently less value because you can't guarantee a kill with it. But I still think being able to kill somebody, quote unquote, kill somebody, activate the KO guard with Hit's time skip is pretty strong. And then that opens up the rush for later parts of the match. So I think Hit is still pretty good. But clearly when every single team now has like AoE indestructible, it just becomes a little bit harder to find immense value in this character. And then last but not least, Ultra Cell. If I had to pick any of these 4 characters to put at number 10, I think I probably would side a little bit with Ultra Cell. But I think any of these characters you can kind of realistically put at the 10 slot. Cell is just still a very strong offensive character. Again, compared to characters like Ultra Full Power Frieza and Namek Goku, like he's, the character's 5 months old at this point, the Cell, but I still think he can do some pretty good damage. Ultimate is still one of the hardest hitting attacks in the game. In fact, it might just be still the single hardest hitting attack in the game. This Ultra Cell's ult with his like full unique gauge up and stuff like that. Obviously, the big issue with this character is defensively, he is very, very fragile at this point. I mean, we talk about numerical power creep during this anniversary, and that is probably the single biggest thing that's changed comparing some of these older characters to newer characters that are released in the past 2 to 3 months, is the damage guard and damage inflicted numbers are just so wildly different. You take a look at the cell, he's got like 70% damage reduction and stuff like that. It just doesn't cut it anymore. His disrupt can kind of be easily circumvented by Ultra Full Power Frieza's active gauge, and there's a bunch of other issues with the cell defensively, but offensively I think he's strong enough to where you can slide him in at number 10 here. I think he's still very, very capable offensively, especially when we consider him at the maximum level, which is of course what all positions on this list are being considered at. Zenkai buffed, best team, stuff like that. So I still think Ultra Cell's pretty good, number 10. Obviously, number 10 is number 10 on the list. We're going to have 9 characters above him here, but probably falling off at a slower rate than I think most people would think. But that's going to be number 10 here. Let's move on to number 9. All right, so number 9 is going to be Sparking Krillin. This is the character that released alongside the 2 Ultras in Part 3 of the Anniversary. This is the hardest character in the game for me right now to evaluate, and the main reason why is because if you look at what this character is doing by himself in a vacuum, he is pretty bad. This is a pretty awful character, but what he's providing to his team, of course, right next to the 2 Ultras, Namek Goku and Full Power Frieza, he's doing an awful lot. So I actually like to compare this character not only to just other characters, but he kind of like just a glorified piece of equipment. It's kind of the way I like to think about this Krillin. It's demeaning, I guess, in a way, because he doesn't really do anything really much by himself. He's just a battery character that heals, provides damage support, HP restoration support, and damage guard support to the 2 best characters in the game. That's really what this character is. It's almost like you're not even running a 3rd character on the team. You're just, he exists to provide buffs to the rest of the team. There could be some anti-synergy issues with Namek Goku in particular, where this Krillin gets like sniped out or dies or something very easily, and you end up wasting Namek Goku's KO guard mechanic. I have ran quite a few matches with that setup, the Namek Saga, the Frieza Saga setup, and there have been maybe like a few times where I've kind of witnessed that or experienced that issue with the synergy between Krillin and Namek Goku, but for the most part, that really hasn't popped up so much for me. The way I like to go with this Krillin is just build him fully defensive, kind of make him as bulky as possible. You swap in and out of him as a bridge character between the 2 Ultra characters. You get the heal in, you get the extra card in, you get the sub count reduction, you get the defensive arts cost increase disrupt in against the opponent, and that's what he does. That's really what he does. He doesn't do damage, he doesn't really do anything besides kind of just act as just quite literally a supporting character to the other Ultras, which, I mean, that does make sense because that really is his role, literally be a supporting character. So while he's not very good on his own, in fact, I'd say he's quite awful by himself, I think just the effect that he has on the 2 best characters right now is probably too high not to have this guy on the list. So I'm going to put him at number 9, but I really don't know what the quote-unquote correct placement is for this character. So you could have him higher, you could have him lower, whatever, but I just think the influence this character has on the best team, I think is too high to not have him on here. So I'm going to put him at number 9. Let's move on to number 8. All right, so number 8 is going to be Blue Zenkai Saiyan Saga Goku. Kind of a similar instance to Krillin. This character by himself is not really doing a ton on his own, but he's providing pretty good support. He's decently bulky. He's got the disrupt. He's got the healing with his main ability into ultimate. Sub count reduction with the green, sub count reduction with the main. Overall, he's got a lot of tools to assist him in what he wants to do for pretty much any Saiyan team or just the Saiyan Saga team that he was originally designed to be used on. Pretty good partner for all the other Saiyan Saga characters, the Vegeta, the Goku, and just overall, I think he's just a pretty solid character all around. Just, kind of like a modern supporting character, which we don't really have much of besides, like, it's really this guy and it's Krillin. Those are the 2 supporting modern characters that exist in the game. Did a really good job with this character's unique equipment. I don't really have much else to say about this guy. He's just, I mean, you guys know what this guy does at this point. He's just very solid all around defensively, solid in what he's doing with the supporting role. Damage, I guess, could be an issue, and the fact that he doesn't really get easy cover and all outside of using his main ability is kind of a problem, I guess, but I don't really think I'm going to knock him too much for that, just because his role is mainly just to be there to support the team. That's what he does, and I think he does a good job of that. So Blue Zenkai Saiyan Saga Goku, number 8. Let's move on to number 7. Okay, number 7 is going to be Transforming Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku. This character, so we got Kefla. Kefla is the most recent addition to the game. I don't really know if Kefla has a huge influence on how good or bad this guy is, right? I mean, you can run Kefla next to this character. I don't think that's her best team. I don't think that's her best setup. But this Goku's best setup probably includes Kefla. So it's a little weird there. Kefla obviously is going to absolutely decimate this character. Same thing with Ultra Full Power Frieza. So this is not particularly a great meta for this character. There's so many strong green characters just running around everywhere right now. And the main reason why is purple is not very good. I think if Evolution Blue Vegeta was made to be probably what he needed to be, which was just a straight up tank defensive god character next to this guy to cover for the green parade of insane units running around, then this guy would probably see a lot more play right now, and Universe Reps as a team would be a lot better. But unfortunately, that is not the case here with the Universe Reps team. And outside of Universe Reps, you can kind of run him on Saiyans. You can run the, I've seen people run the triple anniversary Goku setup with Namek Goku and then Red Kaioken Goku next to this guy. That could definitely work. You could even run like double blue if you want to be really adventurous. This guy next to the blue Goku, the Saiyan Saga one we just looked at. But when it comes to this guy's usefulness, I think he is definitely good enough as a part 1 headlining character. It's just a pretty rough environment for him. But even with that being said, I think he's good enough to make the list here at number 7. So that does say, I think, honestly, more about how good this character is than, you know, kind of like the unfortunate spot that he's been put in due to the lack of purples and overabundance of greens that exist right now. So I'm going to have Transforming Master UI Goku at number 7 here. Let's move on to the next slot. All right, I'm going to have a shared spot here at number 5/number 6. We're coming in here with the Reviving Saiyan Saga Vegeta and Ultra Super Vegito. It's kind of tough for me to really differentiate between how good I think both these guys are when compared to each other. So Vegeta, I mean, you guys know how both these guys work, but I'll talk more about Super Vegito probably because he's the new addition to the list. Vegeta here is just a very solid all-around character. I think his damage is pretty good. His defenses have gotten a little bit worse. That's just because we've gotten more modern releases recently. Kefla, Super Vegito does decent damage. We have the Part 3 Ultras. And even against mirror match Saiyan Saga teams, potentially just like all-purpose Saiyan teams, Sun Family teams, you can take a lot of damage. But this is a character that I think all around does just have the tools necessary to compete with the best units. Right? He's got some ways to combo for a long periods of time. I really like the thing I think that I like the most about this character is his ability to reset his hand when he uses 4 cards. And the reason why that's pretty well balanced and well designed, I think, with this character is because this guy has ways of refreshing his Cover Null, right? He gets Cover Null when he uses a strike or a blast card for the first time after entering the battlefield. And then when he uses a green card, he can actually reset his Cover Null, which you're going to have an overabundance of greens, especially on a Saiyan Saga team with Yajirobe on the bench. So it is pretty easy to just have very long extended combos with this character, which of course is going to be able to feed into him filling up his unique gauge multiple times, which is going to increase his damage and damage guard for the rest of the match. You can combo that into Kaioken Goku, who can transform, and then you can just keep comboing for a long periods of time. Cycle healing in through the blue Saiyan Saga Goku. You can get Tien and Chaozu involved as well. But overall, I do think this Vegeta looks pretty good still. The Revive is just a really well-aging mechanic. Now, it can be a little bit gimped, especially versus Namek Goku with his lock-in potential, but I mean, yeah, I'm not really going to fault Vegeta too much for that just because like every team is susceptible to that. It's just a really insane ability that Namek Goku has. I just think Vegeta is still well equipped to deal with most of the better units in the game. So Super Vegito, definitely a much more effective tank bulk character than the Saiyan Saga Vegeta. And one of the reasons why I would personally value Super Vegito this highly, because I think there's a lot of people who probably would put him lower on their personal lists. And I mean, this character does definitely have a huge glaring issue with Cover Null. Cover Null is the major issue with this character. He enters the battlefield, doesn't have Cover Null very consistently. You can definitely get it active. He's got the same Cover Null condition as Red Beast Gohan does, where an ally has to be hit by a card for this guy to get Cover Null for the next 10 counts. Of course, it also counts for himself, but it's just not a very, like, once you use this character, you'll realize it's not a very consistent condition. And then something else that isn't really super noticeable is his unique gauge is like kind of just a throw-in thing that this guy has. It's not really something that makes him stand out or anything like that. Kind of just a way for you to like stall for an extra second or two and do some damage in return. But the thing that makes this character stand out over basically every other character in this top 10 is this is the only character right now that we have since they started their new design philosophy in April that is essentially a designated tank. There's no other designated tanks in the entire game besides this Vegeta right now that are like viable characters. So that, I think, gives him a lot of extra value. For my recent God rank grind, I'll talk more about this team once we get to the Kefla position, but Super Vegito, Kefla, and Namek Goku as like the ultimate stall timer count team. This guy is basically the crux of the defensive end of that team. This guy having the disrupt, the lock in. Remember, this guy's equipment, when he goes, when this guy's sub counts in or cover changes in against the opponent, he not only lowers the enemy's ki by 50, but he's locking the opponent in for 3 counts. That is huge, right? So what you would want to do with that team, and again, you can go look at that video I posted and, pretty much win every single match. By the way, that anti-meta team, I have like a 98% win rate against the Frieza Saga team with that team. I specifically designed that team to do well against the whole reason why it's a stall team is because you're not killing that Frieza Saga team. You can't really do that. But the entire purpose behind the team is you live to timer count, and then Kefla just does all the damage. And a big kind of pillar in that team that allows you to live that long and not die is Super Vegito. What you want to do is you want to basically throw in all the other characters to get their disrupts off. Remember, Kefla's destroying a card, lowering card draw speed. Namek Goku's lowering card draw speed, destroying cards. And then you throw Vegito in, lower their ki, lock them in, and that's the end of the combo. Vegito subs in, heals himself. Vegito gets hit once, heals himself after the attack is over, and then you're ready to roll. You're ready to go. You got your cover null up. You're ready to go back in action and kind of just do your thing with this character. So that is really what I found to be really, really effective with this character. You can also definitely build him more offensively for damage. I think one of the big things about this character too that people don't realize how really the interaction works is every time this character uses a blast or a strike card, you're stacking up all damage received debuffs on the entire enemy team. And the way that works is it's actually a separate calculation independent of like normal damage inflicted numbers. So it really does add a ton of extra damage that the opponent is taking every time you hit them with any kind of card, right? So that's a really effective tool, and especially on that team that I just talked about with Namek Goku, you can kind of have this guy with almost 3 lives, right? KO guard, you got his endurance, you got his normal life, right? You got his first life, then you got a second life after endurance, then you got KO guard, and then it's really, really tough to get through all that on that team, especially when you're building him specifically super defensively, which is the way I think you're supposed to build him. But I really like both these units at the spot. Again, I think Vegeta is going to be the more consistent offensive character. He's got more ways of initiating than this Vegito does, I think, just on the teams that he's on. Vegito is just the superior tank, no questions asked. So they each have their respective pros and cons on their teams, and I kind of feel like in the meta right now, both of these characters are kind of in like a similar position. So it's tough for me to really separate these characters here, so I'm going to have them shared at 5 and 6. Let's move on to number 4. At number 4, we have LF Super Saiyan 2 Kefla, a very, very strong addition to the game here for the first post 7th anniversary release. Very strong character. I think I really, really like the way that they designed this unit. This character is pretty one-dimensional. She's just very offensively dominant. But once you get her started up, she actually can be decently defensive. I don't want to say too good because, it gets to a point where Namek Goku can just come in and like rush and stuff like that. But I really like the way they designed this Kefla. She's really powerful in the role that she's specifically designed for. And she fits that role on the stall team that I talked about. And that's really the team that I'm going to be focusing on evaluating her on, because that I think is pretty easily her best team. It's, again, I'll reiterate, this character, Ultra Super Vegito and Ultra Namek Goku. You build Namek Goku and Super Vegito to be just purely defensive, all defensive equips, double Zenkai buff them with Bardock and Gotenks, or I guess double Zenkai buff Vegito with Bardock and Gotenks. Goku gets 1 Zenkai buff with Bardock, and then Kefla gets a Zenkai buff. I use the green Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta because I'm prioritizing the bit of extra defense, but you can also use like Revival Green UI Goku if you wanted to. This character essentially carries the damage of that team completely, and then the roles of both Namek Goku and Vegito are to support and provide defense, and the KO guard is just kind of looming in the background while you do all those other things. Of course, Vanish Restoration, this character is very strong, but I think the one thing I want to mention with this character, and this is definitely going to be, I think, a pretty big point of discrepancy between the way I'm ranking the character and probably the way that many other people are ranking the character, is I would definitely classify Kefla as a very star-dependent character. Kefla, while good offensively, if you got her at lower stars, like, 5 stars, 7 stars, even maybe like somewhere close to like 9 stars. I would even consider to be a little low for this character because she can get completely crushed on the defensive end if you don't have her with a bit of extra stars. So I think it is really, really important to remember that. One thing that I found to be really, really effective on this character, actually, and this has actually saved me multiple times, is this ability all the way at the bottom of her unique ability. When on battlefield, an enemy activates special move, ultimate, awakened arts, or rising rush, she's healing 30%. That is a lot. I've had instances where Kefla is locked in by Namek Goku. Namek Goku hits Kefla with like 2 strikes, goes for a blue card to finish her off, and then unfortunately she heals 30% plus all the other additional healing she's getting from like HP restoration, amplifications, and elsewhere in her kit and her equipment, and she doesn't end up dying to the blue card. And that's, that's actually been a thing that I've seen multiple times. So I think that's a pretty effective part of her kit in terms of her being able to survive those big attacks. And then the other thing I really want to mention that makes her extremely powerful offensively, I don't know if I'd go as far to say as this Kefla is a stronger offensive character than Full Power Frieza, just the active gauge is too strong, but when it comes to going band for band with the strongest offensive characters in the game, this character is right there. She is up there for sure. When she has her release type gauge, she not only has card protection for the entire time, she's also got attribute downgrade nullification. And the reason why that's so important is because, especially when you're going up against the Frieza Saga team, there is so much cost increase debuffing going on. Krillin cost increase debuffs, Frieza cost increase debuffs, Namek Goku's lowering your card draw speed, even like Kaioken Goku lowering your card draw speed if they're running the Kaioken Goku variant of the Frieza Saga instead of the Krillin variant. So the fact that Kefla is just simply immune to all of those things and has double card draw speed and has card protection the entire time with all the ridiculous damage, she's stacking damage, able to feint with her blue card, this character is very difficult right now to stop. And so I think that's a huge point of value this character has over a lot of other offensive-based characters right now. One thing I definitely do want to mention, though, is this character, and this is actually a point that I made consistently with God Goku once he got his unique equip, and pretty much ever since then. This is a pretty good environment for Kefla. AKA, there are no super powerful purple characters that exist right now. If, for example, we had like multiple purples that were on this list, or even just like one really powerful purple character that was like a top 3 character right now, it would probably be pretty tough for me to put her up here because she's got very limited ways of going type neutral. And I think that's probably something that's going to hurt her as we move through the meta the rest of the year. I'm assuming at some point we're going to end up getting a very powerful purple character. So this is definitely a character that I can see moving down in this list pretty quickly, depending on what kind of characters we see released in the future. I would say this character has a very low tolerance to competition. That's, I think, the way that I would dub this character. But as of right now, Kefla is very powerful offensively, and I think she fits in perfectly to this meta on that kind of like Saiyan / Fusion Warrior stall team that I used in my most recent God Rank video. Just a really easy cruising to God Rank, just kind of, it's not the play style that everybody likes, but you kind of just make the other team not really do any damage, and then Kefla just comes in and just does all the damage, and then you win off of damage. So found the team to be really effective because that's really the only way you have a chance against Frieza Saga, because let's face it, you ain't killing that team. But I think Kefla very good right now. I'm going to put her at number 4. Let's move on to the top 3. All right, we are going to move through the rest of the list at a very brisk pace because not much has changed here between this and last's list. So we have Kaioken Goku at number 3, very offensively powerful character with great combo potential, with a very competent defensive and array of mechanics as well. Not really much else I need to say, just a very good all-around Saiyan character you can throw on a lot of different teams. He's very flexible. I've seen many people use this character on the Frieza Saga team next to the 2 Ultras in place of Krillin. You could use him on Saiyan Saga, you could use him on Sun Family. You can really throw this guy anywhere and he's going to be pretty damn good. I guess one of the weaknesses this character has is just not a very good access to Zenkai buffers. He's got Kakarot Goku. They finally brought Kakarot Goku back to the game after, like 2 years of him not being back. So you can get kind of a HP plus half a Zenkai buff on this character. But besides him, I mean, you're not really looking at great options for this character on the bench in terms of Zenkai buffs. But he doesn't really need that. He got really good damage just without even having a Zenkai buffer. Has access to some of the best equips in the game, especially on the Saiyan Saga team. And overall, I just think he's a very, very competent unit that I would find a hard time seeing falling off soon. So yeah, Kaioken Goku is just a really strong character. Don't really think the addition of Kefla really hurts this guy at all. I guess the one thing maybe we could say is Kefla's not going to be affected by his card draw speed down debuff when she has her release gauge up, but Kefla, you know, I mean, I guess also Kefla doesn't care about the card destruction of this guy's gauge filling up, but it's hard to really rank Kefla above this character for me, just because this guy almost feels like a better version of Kefla. Like, what is Kefla providing that this guy really isn't doing? I guess maybe the Universe Rep support, but Universe Reps, I mean, they just needed a tank really badly. And then Super Vegito, of course, this guy can hurt really. This guy can put a whooping on Super Vegito, but Super Vegito luckily does have 10 counts of type neutral defensively when he swaps in, so even this guy has like a decently hard time kind of like cracking Super Vegito's armor if you build him fully defensively, which I think is the best way to do. But even still, this guy has like the Solar Flare. You can stall, you can main ability into the blue card, kill people, get your Vanish back. Like, this guy's just really good. So Kaioken Goku number 3. Let's move on to number 2. All right, number 2 is going to be Namek Goku, Ultra Namek Goku. Very good character. You guys have definitely fought this character more than enough times to know what he does. AoE green, lock in unique gauge, supporting, healing the entire team. The one thing I really like about this character is you can build him to be super offensively designed. You know, he's a sniping character who's doing tons and tons of damage with his blue card. He's stacking damage. He's destroying Dragon Balls with his ultimate. Like, you can build him offensively, but you can also go down the path of building him defensively, which is what I did with the Kefla team. He's supporting the entire team with his unique gauge, and honestly, the biggest thing about the unique gauge that I've liked the most, I think probably the most influential part besides the lock-in itself, is the heal. This guy just constantly healing the entire team every time the unique gauge fills up. It really, really complements a defensive team extremely nicely, which is why I think this character, I mean, if I really had to break it down, who's the most important character on that team, that's definitely Namek Goku. KO guard plus constant healing plus constant support plus AoE green. It's really tough to just beat what this character is bringing to the table in just like a leader slot capacity. You just leader slot this character on any team, and instantly your team is like twice as good. It's kind of crazy. Like, this guy is bringing so much to the table. So it's really hard to beat this guy in terms of positions on this list. But we have one character coming up after this that I think most people have a lot of trauma at this point facing. All right, so Ultra Full Power Freeze is going to be number 1 on the list. I don't think anybody is surprised by this in the slightest. Just the active gauge plus the combo potential plus the infinite cover null plus the unique gauge snowballing into the active gauge, snowballing into more unique gauge, snowballing into more combos. It's very crazy. Defensively, he's one of the best characters in the game, on top of being probably the most oppressive offensive character in the game. The only thing this guy really doesn't do is support. That's like really it. I mean, he's doing everything else you could possibly ask for. I just went on a mini tirade of how good I thought Namek Goku was. When you use this character next to Namek Goku, if you start a combo with Namek Goku, guess what you do with him? You get out the way and let this guy do everything. That's what you do, okay? You come back in with Namek Goku when he's got his full unique gauge so you can snipe somebody with the lock-in, but outside of that, you get out of the way and this guy just takes over and takes control of the fight instantly. Very, very oppressive character, right? I'm an LoE fan. I've been waiting for this character for a long time. Ever since they introduced the Ultra Rarity to the game, I've wanted an Ultra Full Power Frieza. Some kind of Ultra Namek Frieza I've wanted. Now we finally have him. I am 100% biased towards this character. However, I'm not past the point of calling this a super oppressive character, because that's what he is. He is a super oppressive character. The fact that they did not give his active gauge a long animation is probably one of the more oppressive things that we've seen in this game in a long time. And again, it looks like we are about to move into a Lineage of Evil themed celebration here for the remainder of August. So I would anticipate that this character probably not going to go anywhere for a while. So buckle up, strap in, get your harnesses on, your seatbelts on, make sure you're all buckled up and stuff like that. And we're about to go on a ride here, because this character is going to be controlling the game, I think, for at least the next month to 2 months from now. But we'll see. Maybe they could release a strong purple. It would be the funniest thing ever is if they released a super mega strong purple, but it was cooler. And you ended up just running the both together. But yeah, I think, not many people would disagree with having this character at number 1. He's doing too much. He's doing too much, right? It's just not even just the offensive stuff. It's the defensive stuff too. He's got the disrupt. He's got the key increase, the sub count up. He's got the endurance, he's got the buff removal, he's got the sub count down. So even if you have like a character like, I don't know, let's just say like Demon King Piccolo was really good or something like that. Demon King Piccolo has uncancelable endurance nullification when he rushes. This guy reduces sub count by 10. He gets rush, so you just swap, right? And you use like KO guard or something. So yeah, just a ridiculous character. Ultra full power Frieza here at number 1 on the list. So quickly, just to recap the remainder of the list that we went through already. Number 10, we had Ultra Cell, Ultra Hit, Purple Tien and Chaozu, and LF Yellow Full Power Frieza at number 10. I would personally choose Ultra Cell to represent that slot for me. Number 9, we had Red Sparking Krillin. Number 8 was Blue Zenkai Saiyan Saga Goku. Number 7 was LF Transforming Master UI Goku. Number 5 and 6 was a shared slot between Ultra Super Vegito and LF Reviving Saiyan Saga Vegeta. Number 4 was LF Super Saiyan 2 Kefla. Number 3 was LF Transforming Kaioken Goku. Number 2, Ultra Namek Goku. And number 1, Ultra Full Power Frieza. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of the placements on this list. And if you disagree, let me know what part of the list you disagree with and what you would personally change about the list. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next one.